We normally don't meet this long.
Let's see. Now I'm going to ask you maybe some questions that might take up maybe 30 minutes of your time.
That's fine. That's fine.
I'll try to keep it for 30 minutes.
Yeah, man.
And all right. Today it is April the 3rd, and it's right at 2:15 p.m. I'm at 316 South President Street, and I'm about to interview Mr. Douglas Anderson, President of the Hinds County Board of Supervisors. Good morning, Mr. Anderson. I'm sorry. Good afternoon, Mr. Anderson.
Good evening.
I'm going to ask you some pointed questions about your experiences and the like. Early in life, did you prepare yourself for a career?
For a career in politics?
Politics, career, at the very outset, early in life, age 18 or 19?
Well, I've always basically decided that I wanted to follow in my brother's footsteps in terms of being a math professor. In fact, in my high school annual, that's what my ambition was, to be a math teacher.
All right, and so you pursued that?
Yes, I did, and I taught in the New Orleans, Jefferson Parish schools, and I taught in the Meridian schools prior to that, and then I taught in the Jackson Public Schools.
All right, now I can identify you with being a faculty member at Jackson State, though.
Right.
When did you join the faculty at Jackson State?
I went to Jackson State in 1970, and I stayed there for 17 years to 1987.
All right. When did you become interested in being a Mississippi legislator?
Well, one day I was in my office, and I got a call from the Grand Master of the Masons, Mr. H.M. Thompson.
Okay.
And he asked me about running for office, and at that particular time I was in my office grading papers, and I had no thoughts of running for office, and I told him that, that I wasn't interested in it. But he had done his homework, and after I hung up the phone from him, I got a call from my brother, Dr. Anderson, and he was again asking me about running for office, running for the House of Representatives. This was in 1975. And then, after I hung up the phone on him, the head of the math department, David Hickman, called me to come down to his office, and I wondered, what in the world is all this? And I went down to the chairman's office, and he talked with me about running for office, and that was my first thought about seeking public office, and the rest of it, I guess, is kind of history. I did have some problems. I was told that if I ran for office that, they would not necessarily save my job. I had to leave school and that sort of thing back in those times, and but I decided that I didn't have any real debt, so I could risk it.
Yes.
And so I decided to run, and I ran as an independent.
All right.
And at that time, I did not know that independents normally don't win office, even though Robert Clark ran his first time as an independent over in Holmes County. But anyway, I ran, and I won that election by 55 votes. And there were some 300 wet ballots still out, and people were congratulating me, and I was scared to death.
Yes.
But I ended up being victorious.
All right. So here again, you were able to win at the outset, and name recognition, perhaps, would you say, helped you in this instance, your connection to Jackson State and your family name and the like?
Yes, very much so. My brother, Dr. Anderson, was very well known.
Yes.
Especially as much in the political arena as in the medical field. And I had him as my campaign manager, and he took a lot of time with me and what have you. And it was interesting. It was most difficult for me, but the good thing that happened was that I had to take a leave from Jackson State.
1 year leave?
I had to I took a leave during the election period for a semester.
Oh, 1 semester.
Yeah. And the good part about that, even though that hurt me financially, it meant that I didn't have anything to do but campaign.
Yes.
And my opponent at that time was the Reverend Hickman Johnson and Mr. Joby Martin and a coach named Hugh Scherer. But I had the advantage in that I got up every day going out campaigning, whereas had I been able to keep my job, I would have been working most of the days and what have you. So I spent a lot of time, and I had one friend of mine who would go out with me every day, and we just campaigned door to door.
Would you care to name that aide that assisted you? One of the many aides that you had.
Oh yes, Arthur Brown worked with me in terms of elections, but I had a good campaign. I had other campaign workers. Nan Evers worked with me, and was very, very helpful in terms of keeping me on schedule and that sort of thing. So I had some good people working with me. Doris and Dorothy Smith, they worked with me. They went out and had corner fish fryers to raise money and all those kinds of things.
So now, did you have an outreach program as such into civic organizations, fraternities, and this kind of thing? How did you tap into the population or the electorate?
Well, what happened is that in running for the House of Representatives inside the city of Jackson is a very compact area.
Yes.
So the means that I used in terms of reaching out to the public and informing the people of my seeking office was going to the various churches.
Yes.
And whenever I heard of a meeting of neighborhood organizations, I would attend those meetings, and then just the door-to-door thing that we did. We had very little money. I did do some radio.
Okay.
But I've never had a lot of money whenever I've run for office. I've never really needed a lot of money. A lot of my volunteers from the Bolton area made all of my signs.
Yes.
So we did raise enough money to purchase some large signs, about $300 worth.
Yeah.
And but this was when I ran for for the Senate, but during the House time, I just had those signs that we personally made ourselves.
All right. So you were a House member first, and so what district did you represent in the House?
67.
All right.
Yeah, so...
and you served for a 4-year period only?
Right, 4 years.
All right. And then you decided to cast your fate for the senator, for a Senate post. Now, who helped you, or who influenced you to do that? You did this independently? Did you see a vacancy here?
It was a little bit more prestige being a state senator.
Okay.
And, of course, it gives you a larger area to campaign in or to work with. Even though the salary was the same, it just seemed to have been a good idea for me to run for the Senate. And, of course, my brother was always right with me in terms of encouraging. And so I decided that I would, and a vacant Senate seat, was available to me. And I felt that with my name recognition, after having served in the House of Representatives, that would give me a distinct advantage when I decided to run for the Senate, since it was the Senate seat, of course, encompassed the House seat.
Yes.
So it gave me a decidingly advantage.
Did you run as an independent again?
No, no. I ran as a Democrat.
All right.
I had some bad experiences running as an independent because
all right.
many elderly people, would ask me, what party are you with?
Yes.
And when I said, well, I'm running as an independent, they say, well, I can't vote for you because I'm a Democrat, and that sort of thing. So it was kind of educating the people that I was really a Democrat at heart, but what had happened was that the deadline for registering as a Democrat had passed, and the only thing that I could register as and still be run in the election was as a independent.
I see.
See, at that time, it's different from now.
Okay.
Now, everybody who runs for office have to register at the same time, whether you're Republican, Democrat, or Independent, or whatever other party.
Oh, right.
Everybody has the same sign-up date.
Okay.
But during those times, since the Independent only ran in the general election, there was a time later that you would sign up, a deadline for an Independent.
Now, in this election, do you recall who your opposition was?
And for the Senate?
For the Senate.
Yes. Boy, I thought of his name, and now I've just.
Was an African American?
Oh, yes.
Oh, he was?
Yes. Melvin Jennings.
Oh.
Attorney Melvin Jennings, yes.
Okay. All right. So now, in that election, you beat him out, with 75% of the vote. How was that?
Well, I won decisively in the first primary. I didn't have to have a runoff.
Oh, okay.
So it was basically no contest, because I had very broad support from the people. In the area where I live, people knew me well. My family name, as you mentioned earlier, was very helpful to me. Most people knew my father and my mother and father, and most of my brothers were teachers, and so they had a lot of contact with people. Mm-hmm. And the one interesting thing too, though, is that when I ran for the House of Representatives, I only won 3 precincts, and all of those 3 precincts were on my side of the track.
Oh, really?
So when I talk about that, I tell people that people who knew me best voted for me.
Yeah.
And in my precinct, I was overwhelmingly, favored.
Oh, okay.
There were 7 precincts, so I won 3, but I did fairly well in the others. But what really carried me over was Verdant Addition.
Oh, all right. All right.
Where I lived.
Now, let me shift a little here. Do you recall when you first met Robert Clark of Holmes County?
Yes. When I first met Robert Clark was doing the ceremonies where we were being sworn into the House of Representatives. And he was already there.
Yes.
And I guess he had been there about 8 years.
Yes.
And he was the lone black
Yes.
there, and I got a chance to meet him at that time.
All right. Now, do you have any personal experiences you'd like to share at this point about, your relationship with Robert Clark in '76, you would say?
Yes. Well, when we went to the legislature, and I got a chance to meet Robert. There were three of us, three additional ones of us to get elected. That was Fred Banks, Horace Buckley, and myself. And Robert Clark basically took me under his wings to familiarize me with the legislative process, because I knew nothing about the legislature. I had never dreamed of running for any public office. And Robert Clark, I would go and sit by him, and seek his counsel, because he could tell me what needed to be done and what have you. And in some instances, we may vote differently. But he would tell me, Doug, I have to support this, but you need to vote on the other side of the issue. And I really, really appreciated that from him, because sometimes, you have made some commitments by him having been there a while, and he would be an advisor to me, and we just relied on him. And in the House of Representatives, of course, we have a huge board. And when I didn't have a chance to talk with Robert, you vote electronically, and a light come on the board to tell you whether you voted for or against, or absent or whatever have you. And many times I would look up at that board to see how Robert Clark voted. So then I would follow him, except in cases when he would come and advise me that I may want to do differently. See, because many times in the legislature, we were on about 4 different committees. Robert was on maybe 5 or so. But you basically only really know about the committees, about the legislation that comes through the committees that you're on. So that's why we had to kind of pool our knowledge. And what we did was we made sure that each black member was on a different committee, so that we could get together, and we formed the first Black Caucus, even though it wasn't but 4 of us. But it gave us a chance to pool our information and what have you.
Very good. Yes. Now, when you were in the House, was it that you were appointed to any special task forces or commissions or advisory committees in the House?
When I was in the House, I was served on universities and colleges.
In the House?
In the House of Representatives. Because that was an interest of mine. And later, during that first term, I was appointed to the State Building Commission.
All right.
And on that commission, I was able to do a lot of things for the historically black institutions. In fact, what happened was, when I got on the building commission, I was appointed chairman of Jackson State, Alcorn, and Valley.
All right.
So what the attempt was that it would keep me from being involved in Mississippi State, Ole Miss, and Southern.
Yeah, narrative focus.
Yeah.
Yes,
So,
all right.
So, but one interesting thing happened while I was there. One meeting I went to, I was on a subcommittee. I was chairman of the committees for Jackson State, Alcorn, and Valley, but I was on a subcommittee for Mississippi State. And we got to a building commission meeting one day, and they told me that they came up with an issue. And I said, wait a minute, I'm on that subcommittee, and I don't know anything about that. I mean, it's never been discussed with me. And so they told me, said, well, Doug, what we do is we always let the chairman of the committee make the decision. And I said, well, do we do that all the time? And they told me yes. So I said, okay, well, that's fine then. I'm voting for it. So I went ahead and voted for whatever they wanted,
Yes.
because I knew that when it came to Jackson State, Alcorn, and Valley, I would be the one making the decision. So I was able to get a lot of things done at all three of these institutions. In fact, at Mississippi Valley State, I got a plaque. They made me an honorary member of a Delta Devil.
Right. See?
And that was when Ernest Borkins was at at Valley, and Dr. Washington was at Alcorn, and of course John Peoples was at Jackson State. And I told them, because at this time the College Board ruled a lot. I mean, they would tell the presidents basically what you're to do and what have you. And you couldn't argue against the College Board. At least the presidents couldn't. And so what I told the presidents of the universities that, look, just tell me what you want.
Yes.
You can go back and deny the College Board, deny to them that you told me that or anything like that, and that you don't know what I'm doing. Because, see, we had control over the buildings. The building commission did. So if I wanted to do something for Jackson State in terms of renovating a building or doing something for the campus and all that, I had the authority to do it, being on the building commission, even though that the presidents would have been told by the College Board that you don't need this or that, And the one thing too that I'm rather proud of is that the Lee Williams building. I was on the building commission at that time, and the College Board came and recommended that we reduce the size of that building by 50%. And I got an interesting letter from Dr. Peoples. Dr. Peoples wrote me a letter telling me that Representative Anderson, the College Board has instructed me to tell you that we should reduce the size of the building, by 50%.
And the appropriation.
Yeah.
Sure,
and see,
that's what I'm saying.
The appropriation, to do that. And the thing about it was that he was letting me know that it wasn't his idea.
Yes.
The College Board had instructed him to do this. But anyway, I held on to my guns, and we went ahead and built that facility to its full capacity that we have now. And of course, I told
it was not cut substantially at all.
No.
It was okay.
We went ahead and built it,
Right.
And as I told the president, you can go and tell the College Board that I don't know what's wrong with that boy. I told him not to do it, and he went ahead and did it anyway.
Yes, he's a man of his own mind.
The same thing is true at Valley State. They built the visitor side first, and They wanted to build a high school type stadium. That is, if you're in the stands, if you drop something, it goes all the way down to the ground,
Yeah.
And I held out on that one to say, no, we want to build an all concrete stadium, like the others, even though we were only building half.
Yes.
And
it was not a house shoe at the very
No.
beginning.
No. It was just one side. Just one side.
See?
So the college board got Dr. Borkins to talk with me and what have you, and I told Dr. Borkins, I said, well, look, whatever you want, that's what I'm going to suggest that we build. Okay. And so they wanted to build this, as I said, one of those high school type stands, and they put so much pressure on Dr. Borkins that Dr. Borkins finally came to me and said, well, look, I tell you what we'll do. Let's build a stadium, but we'll veneer it. That is, on the inside of the stadium, it looks like a full concrete stadium because, they veneered the floors and that sort of thing so that you had the concrete seats and everything. But if you notice today that on the outside of that building, you got the wrought irons coming down. It's not fully encased in concrete.
Yes.
And so he came to me and suggested that I go ahead and compromise on that. And, of course, I did because I would do whatever he said. But now, when it came to the other side of that building, the other phase of it, we got the negotiators from the Senate. I was in the Senate then to make sure that they build a concrete second phase of that stadium. And we built that phase on the, I guess that's the west side of the stadium where you got the boxes and everything. It is all concrete, but the first one was not.
Now, along that same line, was the Alcorn given a stadium at this point?
No.
What building did they really want? What did they have on that blueprint?
Well,
buildings.
At that time, of course, we did some renovations down there, and some dormitories. Okay. But one of the major problems that Alcorn had, which I was able to help them with by being a member of the building commission, was that they had alkaline in their water supply, and so much of the water was dirty looking, and it had a lot of alkaline elements in it. And what I did there was that it cost $149,000, and at that time that was pretty good money, to clean up the water system. And that's what Dr. Washington came to me with, and I was able to get the money. Interesting thing that happened there. When I was getting the money for them, they said, well, wait a minute, you don't have that much money left for Alcorn, so we won't be able to do that. And I remembered that the previous year there was needing something at Delta State, and George Payne Castle had borrowed money from the future appropriations to do that for Delta State. So I said, well, okay, I'll borrow the money then from, Alcorn will get money next year to be able to do this, and they agreed. So we got the additional money, and so we did clean up the water system. The following year, came back, and George Payne Castle said, well, Doug, now you remember you borrowed some money, from the future, appropriation. So now, you need to pay that back this year. So therefore, Alcorn would have gotten less money. And I said, well, you're right. I did do that. Said, but now you recall that you borrowed some money for Delta State, and we need to pay that back too. He said, well, oh hell, just forget it.
You kept the books. You kept the
yeah,
books.
you know,
Mentally,
so
you kept the
sometimes
books.
you do there, and
yes,
we were able to do a lot of things. If you look at Jackson State, if you look at the cornerstone or the plate there at Jackson State, you'll see my name on most of the new buildings. And the last thing I know on the science building and on the dormitory, I don't know if it's still the honors dormitory or what have you, but anyway, if you look at all of those on the cafeteria and all those things, you'll see my name on there where I was a member of the building commission at those times.
I must check this out. I'm sure it's there.
Oh, yeah.
Let me ask another question in this light. Of the three presidents of Alcorn Valley and Jackson State, do you think either one of them had an edge with the college board? I mean, how did you see that? Did you think that Dr. People was popular, unpopular, or was it that Dr. Washington was more popular than the other two? Any comment on that?
Well, yeah, of course. I would think that Dr. Washington was the favorite of the of the college board. He had very good rapport with them. He laughed and he talked with them and that sort of thing, and they accepted him a lot more readily. Dr. Peoples and Dr. Borkins was a lot different. They were strictly business. And for example, sometimes members of the college board would say, "Hey, Wash, how you doing?" And they laugh and they shake hands and whatever have you. And when it came to Dr. Peoples or Dr. Borkins, say, "Well, how you doing, Dr. Peoples?" And that sort of thing. So that was a different attitude toward the presidents. But now, Dr. Washington was very, very successful in getting the things that were needed for the university. Hold on one second. John, I need to call you right back in about 2 or 3 minutes. Okay. Dr. Peoples just demanded a lot more. I don't know what I want to call it, respect or what have you. But he did not joke with them or play with them. He was strictly business. And Dr. Borkins was very much the same way. But it was to Dr. Washington's advantage that he were able to have a good relationship, because he got most of the things that he wanted, from the college board.
Now, another question, and it has to do with Governor Bill Waller elevating the historical black colleges into being universities. Now, weren't you chairman of the? You were not in that.
No, not with Bill Waller.
Okay.
He was before I went into it.
But he was the one who elevated the colleges to universities, right?
Well, yeah.
Was it?
Well, I'm not absolutely sure of that. I don't recall right now. I believe it was him. I think.
Yeah, 76, I do believe, wasn't it?
Yeah,
76 or 78.
Well, no, Cliff Finch was there in 76, I believe. And,
okay.
So it would have had to have been prior to that.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Then maybe 74 or something like this.
Yeah, somewhere around.
Right. I've sort of tried to focus in on this. But what about the politics? You were not involved in the politics of elevating these colleges to being universities, and MUW became a university along with Delta State?
No, I was not.
This was
I was not. I was not part of that. I think they had become universities in name, and in name only. Prior to my serving. I was a part of when the talk was about closing down the universities. You know, when they were talking about eliminating Valley State and
after they had become universities and all, then they began to cut back. The money became less.
Yes.
For whatever.
Yeah, and then they talked about, cutting back on appropriations.
Yes.
To the universities, and especially eliminating Mississippi Valley State. I was chairman. I was in the Senate then, and I was chairman of university and colleges at that time.
Yes.
And I think that my committee played a major role in preventing that from happening. What I did was, when legislation was introduced to close down Mississippi Valley State, and they talked about closing down MUW, that came to my committee, and what I did was I appointed a subcommittee to study the university system. We visited all 8 of the universities, and plus all of the junior colleges. We wanted to
fact-finding mission.
Yes.
Okay.
And what I did was, I didn't want it to look like that I was being a black legislator, that I was just completely showing favoritism toward the 3 black institutions. So what I did was, I appointed a chairman of the committee, Neville Sledge, to chair the committee. And I made sure that I had a majority of the votes on that committee that would vote to keep the universities open. I made sure that I already knew my committee and who was on there, and of course I appointed myself to be on the committee but not chairing it. And then I put 2 or so of the people who were strong advocates of closing down, Valley State. I wanted to give the appearance of being fair, with what we were doing. And we went out and we looked at all the universities and what have you. And we finally came back with our study, and what the committee came up with a white chairman, was that Mississippi Valley State was probably the best investment of all the universities we had.
Wow.
And the rationale that we had was that because of where the level at which they received the students. Valley State students that they had received had a lower ACT test and all those kinds of things. And we looked at where they were when they started and where they were when they graduated, even though they may not have been up to the standards of Jackson State or whatever have you, but we said that they had made tremendous progress. These kids, yes. Whereas instead of being on welfare, these people became productive tax-paying citizens. And I don't know whatever happened to that study. I don't know, but it would be interesting.
Shelved, perhaps.
Yeah, it would be interesting if you would see that. I'm really, that's been a long time ago, but it's probably somewhere over at the legislature.
Let me single out maybe a few names here, and just to see what your reply is.
Okay.
Did Senator Jack Gordon play a significant role in shaping this kind of legislation? Do you recall Jack?
I don't know
Board?
Jack. I know Jack well. Jack served as chairman of appropriations.
All right.
And he was, he was helpful some, but usually most of the senators, would help with a few things, and he did help some. I don't know whether his help was outstanding or not, because you had people whose help was very outstanding. Was people like Robert Crook, from up at Rudesville, and Frazier. Not Hillman Frazier.
Oh, different Frazier?
Yeah, it's a different Frazier. I'll think of his name in a few minutes. Who were very, very helpful in helping the black institutions.
Okay.
Boy, I can't think of his first name right now, but I'll think of it. But they were the ones who really stood up for the black institutions, and that's because that they came from districts that were predominantly black.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Willis Simmons is the one that defeated Robert Crook, and I would think that probably David Jordan probably replaced Frazier. But Frazier got appointed to a judgeship, I think, or something like that. But they were far more helpful, even though I could depend upon them. And Ellis Bodron, after I really got to know him, he was very helpful to me. So we had some allies.
I see.
But I think the most significant thing that we had was that by our being on different committees, we could always determine who our friends were. Because most of the dirty work was done in committees, where you don't have a record of what's going on, and people don't know. See, once you come to the floor, then you have to make votes of record.
Yes.
So many of the things that would have been helpful to black people or to the black institutions were killed in committee.
Yes.
And then these same people who were instrumental in killing the legislation that was helpful would come out and pretend that they were, the saviors for black folks.
Yes.
But by us being in those committees, they had to temper their actions, because we could go back and say, well, this guy did this or that in that committee. So that was one of the important things that we were able to do.
Another question comes to mind here. As chairman of the university's committee, did you ever have the occasion to have private meetings with alumni representatives and maybe the executive secretary to the board? What about the executive secretary to the college board? Did you ever have the occasion to have a private meeting with him about anything? No. Not at all. Oh.
No. I never met there. I did go to attend some of the college board meetings.
All right.
Oftentimes, though, they wanted to chastise me for not going along with their wishes.
Yes.
And that was the few times that I was really invited to come over.
I see.
There were times when being chairman of the Universities and Colleges Committee was very helpful. In fact, I don't know whether this should go into the thing or not, but when the College Board was deciding to make their move on Dr. Hefner when he left Jackson State.
Yeah.
They had planned to terminate him. I've forgotten which year it was.
Mm-hmm.
And they were going to do it abruptly at a college board meeting that was being held at Valley State. And it was during the first semester of that year. So I called the college board members and talked with them, the various members, about that decision.
Off the record?
Yes.
Okay.
And I convinced them that they should not terminate this president during the middle of the school year.
Mm-hmm.
That they should at least wait until the end of the year,
mm-hmm.
academic year, before they would move on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a majority of the board to agree with me, because at that time, there was a lot of uproar, and I, reminded them that students would be coming down to the board and all this sort of thing.
Backlash.
Yeah, and so they did decide that, well, we'll wait and do that, and I was happy that they did, because if they were going to do it, that they would wait until the end of the year, because then it is not such a black mark
mm-hmm.
on your record
mm-hmm.
and what have you. And as you know, Dr. Hefner went on to be president of Tennessee State.
Yes. Yeah. Now let's go back to Robert Clark on this matter too.
Mm-hmm.
Now he is a distinguished graduate of Jackson State,
mm-hmm.
and so now did he, should I say, go out on the limb to some degree with Dr. Peoples' efforts to, should I say, upgrade Jackson State as far as appropriations and getting colleges, or should I say schools? Should I say, schools, new schools, and capitalization and these kinds of things.
New programs.
New programs.
Like that, yes. Robert Clark was very helpful in promoting the black institutions. I was more the lead person there in the fight, and because I was professor at Jackson State,
Mm-hmm.
So, but whenever I went to Robert Clark, he was always helpful, and many times he would come to me, and by him being, alum of Jackson State, he would know many of their needs and what have you. So he was very helpful and very supportive of what I was doing. And by him having been there, for 8 years prior to mine, he could go and talk with some of the guys who were in positions to help.
Say, for instance, Sonny Meredith. Did he help? Sonny Meredith. What kind of take do you have on Sonny Meredith?
Sonny Meredith was a very intelligent legislator who came also from the Delta, who had large black constituents, and on the floor, or I don't think I was on any committees with him while I was over in the House. So, like I say, much of your dirty work is done in committees. But he would vote many times along with us in terms of giving some things. Most times your real fights are in committee. And usually, as I said, when it comes to the floor, it's a vote of record. And most people, now there were a few that would not, excuse me a minute. I'm in a meeting right now, and I'll call you back. So Sonny would vote along with it, but now when you look back at in the trenches where you really had to go and get some things done, then I don't know, because I wasn't in the trenches with him.
I see. And back to maybe Senator Kirksey, if I have not introduced him already. He came to the Senate in the 80s, right?
Yeah, he came, yes.
Oh, and so would you credit him for, this redistricting, and this is why you were a senator in the first place, because of the, should I say, the redistricting problems that he resolved in the Mississippi legislature?
There's no question
Okay.
about that.
Right.
Senator Kirksey played a major role in the election of, I would venture to say, all of the black legislators and many other blacks in government.
Right.
Now there has been some other districts drawn since Senator Kirksey's time. There's been an increase in the number of blacks in the legislature and what have you, but he was the starting point. He was the one who really got out there and worked to make these things happen. He did the research. Yes. He filed the lawsuit. He went to the courts, and he risked himself out there for this cause. And we are all deeply indebted to Senator Kirksey for the work that he did on redistricting, not just of legislature, but of judicial districts and whatever have you.
I won't try to curtail this, but one more question. I contend that Robert Clark is the most influential black politician in Mississippi history in the 20th century. Do you take exception to that?
No, I don't take exception to that. Robert Clark, having been President Pro Tem, certainly exerted a lot of influence over what has happened in the state of Mississippi, and he was basically on the inside, where you could get some things done and what have you, and many of the changes that took place, attitudinal changes and what have you, were a result basically of Robert Clark's efforts. Now, we have a new breed of legislators, and in time, I think they're going to really leave their mark on Mississippi. You have some outstanding legislators, but Robert was a pioneer, and when you're the ones who pioneered something, you have to give a lot of credence and a lot of respect to that individual. And Robert is the only black President Pro Tem we've had, Pro Tem we've had of the House, and probably for some time to come. Yes. But he knew his politics, and he knew how to get along with folks without selling out You know, and he knew how to advise the rest of us to be able to get some things done. See, in the legislature, as you probably know, is that there are certain trade-offs you make. There are certain compromises you have to make. The thing is, you have to know what to compromise. You know, Robert Clark and I served on the State Budget Commission, LBO, Legislative Budget Committee, and Robert and I were together. And when the governor came to us about Kirk Fordyce about reducing money to higher education, Robert and I said, well, you know, we can't vote for that, or we will not vote for that. And we were the only two on Legislative Budget Committee, and we held our ground. You know, as a result of that, I had the lieutenant governor. I was in the Senate and he was in the House. Lieutenant governor came to me and said, well, Doug, you know, I've looked at it, your votes, and you've never voted to support me. And I gave you my most prestigious appointment. And I said, well, we have voted together. But some of the things you've asked me to vote for, I simply couldn't do that. I cannot do anything that's going to be detrimental to my people. I can't do that, you know. And he said, well, you know, since you feel that way about it, what do you think I ought to do? I said, well, I guess the only thing you can do is to take me off. And he did. He took me off of a Legislative Budget Committee. And
after you had served how many years?
Oh, I had served on there. No. He took me off in the middle of the year.
Oh.
He took me off at the end of a year, about a year and a half.
Oh,
I had served on there. And he appointed Barbara Blackman, replaced me on that committee. And here again, I could have voted with the lieutenant governor, and nobody would have known except those of us on the budget committee. But I have my conscience that I got to deal with, and I couldn't do that, so, you know, gave that up.
Are there any unsolicited comments you'd like to make, Mr. Anderson, before I end this?
I just want to reiterate the leadership that Bob gave us.
All right.
Excuse me. Hello? Yeah, look, this is Rod. I need to call you back. I'm going to call you right back in about 2 minutes. Okay. Got an issue we got to deal with. But he was mild-mannered. Not quite like I was. But I learned a long time ago that in order to get something accomplished, you need different kinds of soldiers.
Yeah.
And Robert Clark, you know, sometimes I'd make a scene so that Robert Clark could be the one to put the fire out, you know, and do some things like that.
Yes.
And we'll get up, and sometimes I would use very harsh language.
Grandstand to some degree. Yes,
at the podium and what have you. But Robert, he stood for his principles. He didn't compromise those. He and I just had different ways of doing some things, you know, and I learned a lot from him. I learned that sometimes you need to temper what you say. You can say the same thing, but you can say it in a milder form. And Robert mastered that art. And you got to realize now that he was there for 8 years by himself.
Yeah.
I mean, the only black that was there. And he managed to survive that. When I got there were 4 of us, and we had all kind of problems. You know, at least I did, in terms of getting information from state agencies. You know, they just wouldn't give it to me. You know, so Robert was an outstanding legislator who got a lot done. He maneuvered himself into positions where you could get something done.
Yes.
I mean, with my rhetoric, people were hesitant to put me, and with Henry Kirksey. You know, you weren't going to put Henry Kirksey on this or that or what have you, you know, because you knew he was going to come back and tell you like it is, and going to tell you in a way that you probably won't appreciate him saying it, you know. So, but Robert would say the same kinds of things, said in a milder manner, and still be able to get some things done. Whereas sometimes, you know, you can get the bucket of milk and then kick it over.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson, for being agreeing to be in the interview at this time. A million thanks. We'll see you about, and I'll try to get you back this transcribed in 3 weeks, hopefully.
Okay, good. This was something you were putting here for me to look at?
Right, that's for your file. I read a paper on Robert Clark for that meeting, which you might have heard about. This is the program completely. Attorney Constance.
Oh yeah,
Harvey,
yeah.
Was
I remember
the Boy
that.
Award recipient.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it involved a lot of us trying to, arrange things locally. And for the record, I interviewed Reverend Dr. Buckley last Tuesday.
What about Fred Banks?
He's on hold. I've tried to get him this week. Now he's called, but maybe I'll interview him Thursday. I hope. I'm trying to get you all together, because you all participated on this program, and it's sort of stretches me to get all of this and then do my regular job and everything.
Yeah.
But here again, you are familiar with this book, right?
No.
You've seen it. You've not seen this? Will D. Campbell has, published this. It came out in 2003. His popular biography. And so
I get that.
That is one of my takeoff points, too.
Okay.
That I have a lot of work to do. It's a lot of... is there anybody you want to suggest that I need to interview other than... Okay, now I want to... he suggested... Reverend Dr. Buckley suggested Jack Gordon. He said that he really was a friend and ally to Clark. Now, are there any other person you think that I could... I mean, I'm talking about whites, that is. I held the blacks pretty much. Rims Barber's been helpful to some degree.
Yeah, Rims.
Yeah, he's recommended. And I've interviewed Attorney Walter Brown, and I'll interview Marion Smith also, hopefully. I hope that comes up Friday, unless he counsels as it natures.
Yeah, I know. I can't remember those boys back over there. Sure. Yeah.
Now, you resigned, or you just didn't run anymore? I mean, this is off the record, though.
I resigned from the Senate.